picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
But if they ever ask about me, tell them I was more than just a great set of boobs. I was also an incredible pair of legs.
Well, welcome back. It is week three of the October Monster Movie Festival of Frightening Figures and other friendly stuff. I like my weekends. I like my weekends just fine because I can, take some downtime from all of this, work, and do some research, catch up on my posts and that kind of stuff. And I do read the posts, and I get a lot of good information out of them. Elliot, that switch on Michael Myers on the mailbox would have been genius if I'd have thought of it a week or so earlier. But some people brought good questions about Elvira and The Creature and things that I haven't quite finished yet. And again with Michael Myers, but he's done. He's off the board, so not going to be going back to him. Elvira. First thing, I did find a good canon reference that shows that that couch does have little square pillows, or does in some instances. So that's going to take care of the problem of her not quite leaning on the couch right, because I'm just going to put one of the little pillows behind her arm. I'm just going to sculpt up something and then flock it to match. So that'll be fun. Also, I was enjoying this over the weekend, and if you don't have this, if you have the means, by all means, it's a good collection. It's called the Universal Classic Monsters, the Essential Collection. This is the Blu-ray set. And what this is a one-stop shop for your basic monster movies. And you've got The Creature, you've got Dracula, you've got the Wolfman, you got Frankenstein, you got the Invisible Man, you got the Mummy, you got the Phantom of the Opera. And you have what I consider one of the spin-off, one of the sequels. You have Bride of Frankenstein. But what you don't get is, Son of the Werewolf's Orthodonture. You don't get Curse of Dracula meets Abbott and Costello. You don't get, The Creature walks among us and pays rent. You don't get all of those, what I consider the lesser and lesser quality films as it goes on. This is just the meat and potatoes here. But on it, there's a great, on The Creature, on this disc right here, on The Creature from the Black Lagoon disc, there is a wonderful making of, kind of a memory, memoir type of thing. They spoke with not only Julie Adams, but the two actors who were in the Creature suit. There was one actor who was in the did the swimming portion, and one actor who did the walking portion. And I guess they flipped a coin to see who would be the guy that comes up out of the water, since it's neither here nor there. But they dispel some very popular myths, and that is that the Creature's lips were bright red. That was something that was kind of jazzed up and tramped up for the movie posters. Filmed in black and white, so there's very precious few color references of the Creature's suit. But you go by the descriptions of the people who were in the bloody thing, and they say that it's a mossy green all over, that it didn't have a lot of color variations in it, that the lips were not bright red. They were a little bit paler. They were a slightly different color, but they were not bright red. That's kind of something that was come up in the. And I'll show you right here. It's in the publicity pictures that it does have the bright red lips there. But what is probably the best description was what Julie Adams said. And I've learned stuff from this movie. Julie Adams probably is the prototype for Lovey Howell as far as packing how many outfits can you pack for a short trip like this. She had so many costume changes, it was amazing. Not to mention, least of which was that fantastic one-piece bathing suit she was wearing, which I discovered at the time from watching this was at the time very racy. Another great thing I discovered about watching going through this movie or going through this collection, these movies are short. They're 80 minutes at the most. Let's see, Phantom of the Opera is 90 minutes. An hour and 18 for The Creature in Black Lagoon. If you can't spend an hour and 18 watching a classic monster movie, you have an hour and 12 for The Invisible Man, hour and 14 for The Mummy, Hour and 15 for Dracula. Frankenstein's an hour and 11 minutes. 71 minutes. That's as short as Dumbo is. But I mean, classic movies. Do yourself a favor. Immerse yourself in the classics. But that has altered the way I am looking at painting the creature. I have dulled it down to make it more accurate. Now, they also had Bob Burns on there, who is the premier Hollywood prop collector. God rest his soul. Whenever he passes away, it's going to be a dark, dark day. I met him once at Wonderfest. What a great guy. I got to touch the monkey. That's dirtier than it sounds, but he had his Kong armature with him, and I got to touch the monkey. But he's the best kind of prop collector, because he's the kind of prop collector that, you know, doesn't put them behind glass and you know, forbids you to touch them and puts everything behind velvet ropes. It brings it out, makes it visceral, makes it physical so you can see the thing. But he had a creature suit that was built for him, and using the best experts at the time, it's very monochromatic. Now, there is some shading in the scale plates, for lack of a better term. There is some striping, almost zebra-like shading that I'm going to reintroduce into the kit. But it did prompt me to tone down a lot of the yellow that I had in the chest, because that chest color is very, very similar to the overall color. It does not stick out like it would, even in black and white, like it would if it were a pale or yellow color. So that got toned down. Well, let's just show you where we are on the table. Okay, the first thing you'll notice is that I've got, well, you might notice 2 or 3 things. I got the orange painted on Julie Adams, the victim here. I don't know how elaborate I'm going to try to recreate that paisley pattern, because here's one instance where I wish they'd have done a decal. If they had just added a decal for that pattern, it would have been so much better, even if it was something you had to cut up in place. The other thing is I de-armed her. She's been unarmed. And it's so much easier to deal with her arm not being on. I don't have nearly the problem of the paint scraping or any of that, which allowed me to put this other hand on and get it in position. But you'll notice I toned this all the way down. And I also toned down the pink I had on the gills and on the mouth. Actually, the camera here looks like it's wiping out all of the color, but there is still some subtle color there. The bottom of the chin and going down is still a lighter color. It's just a lot more subtle. And I learned a lot about what needs to go on around the eyes. There is a very definite dark black circle around the eyes, and then you know, the highlighted color. And this is not any of the son of the creature, you know, ex-accountant of the creature, or any of the sequel stuff, where this face gets more and more distorted with each sequel. This is your pure creature from the Black Lagoon creature. So well, you can see it in there. There are some lighter colors in there, but they are not anywhere near as garish as they were. I also took a bit of time this weekend to put in some moss around the rocks, and this was only because the way this base is sculpted, you can still see a bit of it here. It's sculpted with this deep recess in here. Almost looks like a receding gum. If this was a jaw and a tooth in there, it looks like the gums were receding around the rocks there. So I wanted to fill that area in a little bit and throw some moss in, and I may end up doing a little bit more because it looks like it dried in a little bit too much over the weekend. But that was, you know, fresh from my flocking success here. I decided to use a lot of the same techniques here and fill that in, make that look a little bit more interesting since the base is so small. Started painting in the colors on the top and the pants. But you see, the important thing was taking her arm off. Now, the kit has the shoulder built in, and let me see the best way to explain this. Here is the kit, and the shoulder is built into the torso to about that point, and then you glue the bottom of the arm onto the shoulder. Well, it's the shoulder that needs to be adapted, not the arm. So what I need to do is move the shoulder from something like, let's see, this is pretty much how it was and it needs to be moved back to something like that. Just a little bit more of an angle and splayed out just a tiny bit to fit around the body a little bit better, the body of the creature. So I did a little bit of surgery. I'm sure Michael Myers would be proud, but I did a little bit of surgery, and once I can get more of this painted, that'll leave me a clean joint to reattach the arm to, but it allows me to get a whole lot more choices in the angle of the body when it's being carried, and then I can glue the arms of the creature in that position and slip her in it, and then reattach the arm and do just a little bit of puttying around that joint and patching work. Let's see, where are we on Elvira? I'm going to do those pillows first to get her body situated. I have yet to finish painting her face. I've got the eyes kind of mapped out, got the eye makeup on. I need to do obviously the lipstick and the eye pupils, and then I'll be ready to glue that hair together. And the hair is going to be a neat trick because it goes on front and back like this with a very obvious seam line that has to be addressed and cleaned up, but it kind of has to be done in place. I can't really glue this like this and then slip it on. It kind of has to be done. Ooh, wait a minute, let me check that. If I did, no, see, it goes, her neck's too much like a light bulb. If it were straight, I might stand a chance at doing that, but I don't think it's going to work that way. So let's get on with this week's work. Welcome back. It's just it's still Monday morning. I just had mail call, and mail call is a wonderful thing. And look what came in the mail. Yes, I got replacements for that decal that I screwed up on the Reliant. I got to thank Jeffrey at JT Graphics for sending me these. Appreciate it. Went through some hoops to get it for me. And I will be able to take that bad decal off and replace it. So, yay. And if the mail holds true this week, I may have another big, my next project coming also from the same fine folks that made the Reliant. So, more on that as it develops. Good morning, it's Tuesday, and I think we'll be close to finishing up Elvira today. All I need to do is get up the nerve to paint her eyeballs, and she is mostly done. Last night I sculpted up some pillows to go in place, and today I'm going to paint those and flock them and get those ready to go and set dressing. But we have a couch there, and we've got a pillow now that she can rest on, and that will give you the there, she fits so much better on the couch with a pillow resting under her elbow. And all I need to do then is, once she's down in place, is sculpt that little bit of clay or that little bit of epoxy right in there to kind of join her gown up. And then everything from there on is touch up. The toughest thing I got to do before I can do any of that is to get get her eyes painted on, but then get the hair on and get that seam taken care of and sanded down. Let's see, what can I do now? I can put her shoes on her, I guess, right now. I can't tell you how many times I have gone over the paint on this because I'm trying to make a differentiation between her gloss. She's wearing black. She's a pale woman wearing black. So I'm trying to make like her belt be a semi-gloss black and her gown be a flat black and her hair is shiny so that you see the different breakups. It's very much like painting Darth Vader. You have all of these blacks and you have to try to find some way to make them stand out from each other. So that's where I'm at now. I may try to put a couple of spots on her eyes and do her lipstick and see how that takes. But I think what I want to do now is, because it takes the longest time to dry or to be done, is I think I may want to go ahead and work on these pillows. Okay, I've got the little pillows covered with flocking, and they're going to be drying overnight at least, and I can get back onto the rest of Madame Elvira. And I completely had forgotten this lamp. I haven't really even started on this yet, so obviously I'm not going to get it done today. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do with it, actually. I mean, obviously the problem with it is it's styrene and metal, so I guess I got to get a primer coat on it first, or else I'm never even going to be able to get any paint to stick to it. So let me take care of that, and then we'll get on with the rest of it. Working on Elvira's lovely face right now, and you know, it's a testament to things seen and unseen, because I've had a real good time putting in those eyes. I think they work. For me, it's about as good as I can get. And yeah, that rouge looks awfully slopped on there, but once you map out how much is actually ever going to be seen, you are surprised, delighted, and sometimes disappointed that all of that hard work ends up being covered up by another part. Yes, I know it's in there. I know that work's been done, but the casual observer will not see that because of all of the part. Now, see, that's probably the best view right there, as far as getting the look down right. And I like the way they baked in the sneer. I mean, if you ever listen to her or watch her talk, she kind of talks a little bit like Elvis. She's got that little sneer. And now I see I need to put some more contrast inside her mouth there a little bit. Just a little bit darker in there. But for what you end up seeing, particularly once she's on the couch, I think that is quite captures what I'm looking to capture. To the level of my skill, and I use the word skill very, very loosely, to the point where I know if I put something else on there, it's going to screw up. And that's where I think that's the growth lesson in whenever you paint and whenever you progress as a model builder and model painter. It's not so much identifying when you are at the top of your skill set, but identifying when you are at that point beyond which you will screw something up if you try to do it one more time. If I went in and tried to tweak that one last time, that's when I'm going to put a big old white smear or a black smear across everything and set myself back. So knowing when to walk away, I think it's the gambler aspect. It's the Kenny Rogers gambler aspect. You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. Know when to walk away and know when to run. Because model painting, like anything else in life, can be overdone. I'm back. It's Tuesday afternoon, and weird things have been happening today. I've been putting an order together. It's a rare moment of quiet as the plotter is not plotting. But I've been working on Elvira all along. First thing I did was put a flat coat on her, and trust me, it's the only thing flat about Elvira is the flat coat that I've put on her. And then I went in and glossed her eyes and her lips. I always like when that happens because it adds just that little bit of life to your figures. It's surprising. Well, let's get back on camera. It's surprising what a difference it makes. Just a touch of the Tamiya clear on the eyes and on the lips. There's that smirky look. So now I am almost ready to glue her down, but I really can't do anything until these pillows have dried at least overnight. It's been the 10 hours since it's been flocked, but I really need to leave them at least overnight before I do anything substantial with them. So I am going to leave these be. What I can do is put her shoes on her legs, put her hands, and finish up her jewelry, and maybe even glue the two halves of her hair together. But that's we're getting down to the last bits on Elvira. I've got to work on the wax and the candles for the candelabra, and then we will be down to doing nothing left but Creature and the victim, or as Creature and the girl, or Julie Adams, or they keep calling her the victim and the creature. So I call him Gilman. His name is Ron Gilman, but he's ready. He's mostly done. So let's get these last bits put on. Good morning, it's Thursday, and we're going to start today off with another finished model. Yes, Elvira, she's finished. I got the last bits of it done last night. I just did a little bit of touch-up this morning, waiting for that paint to dry. Tried to do something I consider interesting. I don't know how you feel about it. On the on all of the blacks that are going on here on her gown and her hair and everything, I stuck with the gloss on the hair. Now, unfortunately, it's something I'm not happy with, but I tried to minimize it as much as possible. She's got a rather noticeable seam running through her hair, and I hate to say it, but I've tackled it to the level of my interest in tackling it, which is not to say that I couldn't have done a better job with it. It's just that I'm ready to be done with this kit, so I'm not going to hassle it anymore. But it is rather noticeable, and unfortunately you kind of have to do that last. I mean, other than putting her on the couch, you have to have her face kind of already situated and done before you attach the hair, and I didn't want to mess up or take the chance of messing up any of the work I'd done on her face by, you know, getting some paint splatter or sanding or putty or anything near it. So but I'm very happy with how that face turned out, particularly those eyes. I am much happier with those eyes than I thought I was going to be. So today I finished up the candelabra, just painting the dripping wax and all that kind of stuff, and making the fixture itself look kind of like a brass, which is, I didn't have any brass paint, so I just painted it bronze and then I highlighted it in gold, and there you go, you get brass. So that's taken care of. Happy with how she turned out. But getting back to the blacks I was talking about, I made the conceit that the outside of her gown was going to be a flat black, but that the inside would be the gloss black, or the satin black. And I figured I could do that because her shoes are shiny black. The inside of her gown is shiny black, but it's far enough away from her hair that you're not going to get the two confused. So what I did just to show the difference between the outside and the inside is I just painted the flat black over a bit of it, and then in here where it looks like it folds over itself, I painted the outside of that flat black and left the inside shiny. But there you go. I think it turned out. I don't know. I know why I was hesitant to have this kit for so long, but hesitant to start painting it. It's because I wasn't wild about how the couch was looking, and I hadn't thought of flocking it. And until that light bulb went off, I wasn't wild about diving into the rest of this kit, because the couch is so much a part of it that if I wasn't going to be happy with the finish on the couch, then I wasn't going to be happy with the large part of the finish. So there. Plus, it's, you know, it's the time of year when you pull out your spooky kits. So I was glad to have finally gotten around to it. Once I cracked the nut of the flocking, though, that's what opened up the rest of it to being done. Okay, and then there was one. We're down to it. And actually, we are, I would say, halfway done with this. At least half. We've got that much done. Happy with all of this. I'm sorry, the little lizard needs more work. I'm happy with all of this. So putting that aside, which is a big chunk of an aside, we are left with this fine young one-armed lady to paint. So, and that's where my sticking point is. Everything that I've learned on Elvira as far as painting the young lady, I don't know how far or how much that's going to apply, because she is naturally skin-toned and not cartoonish in her makeup like Elvira is. And so a lot more subtlety and a lot more of a delicate hand is required. So I'm going to think long and hard about the best way to do the paisleys on her top, whether it's a painting mask, whether it's a faux decal. I think what I need to do is kind of put her back in the arms and map out where the creature's hands are, so I don't waste a lot of time painting an area that will never be seen. I also need to do a very smooth job on the shoulder joint, because I don't feel that I'm going to be able to have that arm attached when I'm putting her in place. I feel I am probably going to need to put her in the arms, glue her down, and then attach and patch the back shoulder. So getting that in the exact spot is going to be important, and having everything ready for that point. See, I think that was where I ran into trouble the first time, was having that arm attached and finding out that it was not going to work without scratching up the paint and all of that. So this is what we need to do. And then I need to decide, am I going to gloss her up? I mean, she would just be coming out of the water. She would be wet. So therefore, do I, you know, try to put a gloss on her hair and skin and things like that, or do I show her in some form of, you know, trying to be dry? I don't know. I know that in the movie, by the time he pulls her out, the magic of the movies is you're not going to be completely wet. You're going to be wet the first time they shoot that scene of somebody being pulled out of the water, but as soon as they cut for another angle, then the actors have had a chance to dry off and all that kind of stuff, so you're never as wet as you are the first time you come out of the water. So rewatching that scene is going to be important, plus figuring out how much of a struggle for reality I'm going to be invested in. Welcome back. It's Friday. It's the last day of the work week, and one way or another I feel very strongly that this will be the last day on the creature. I have but a bit of painting to do on the young lady, quite a bit, and as usual, I am spending a whole lot of time and energy trying to save a little time and energy. And the question today is, how much work am I willing to do to avoid painting the paisleys on her top? And I've come up with this, what I think is going to work. I don't know. Let's find out. It's what life's all about. Worked up a design this morning on the computer. Printed it out. Printed it out. It came out of the printer, but it's printed for the top of her swimsuit. And I've done it in I've done it left and right half because they're not symmetrical. And I'm going to try to print this. I've printed it on my laser printer on the white decal film. You'll see I also printed it on the back because I screwed up and stuck it through the printer the wrong way the first time. So I've printed up multiples. And what I'm going to do now is take it outside, put on I got to put on a hazmat suit, gloves, mask, face shield, everything, because I have to get out that Demon Decal Bonder spray that I am deathly allergic to. And I'm going to spray this. Actually, I take that back. What I'm going to do is I am going to do at least 2 of these, since I've got spares. I'm going to do at least 2 of these with the decal film fluid that I picked up last week to see if that's going to work any better, and to bond the colors down to this. So then we're going to cut those out and decal the top of, and then patch up anything I need to do with paint to match the color on the back. But since the hand covers a lot of it, there's really only this area that needs to be seen. So we're going to try and see how well we can do with decaling. And then given that, I've got to paint everything else. I went in last night and I did some pre-shading on her knees and, you know, just the darker areas of the skin, so that when I go over it with a lighter mist today, hopefully that will take care of the skin shading. And all I have to do now would be to paint her shorts back in and paint the top. So let's see if this is going to work. First, I'm going to take this sheet here, and I am going to do some decaling, or I'm going to use this decal film just over this one here and see how well that works. Now, lest you think I'm kidding, this is what I have to put up with to use that spray. So I just took it outside, sprayed it. It's drying outside, and then this, because of this demon stuff, this decal bonder. Now that I'm done with it, it gets sealed up and goes back into a very dark place until the next time that I need it. But this is serious business. Last time it took me maybe 2.5 weeks to get to where my skin would stop itching. Okay. Whew. We're done with that. Now, I need to throw away these gloves because they touched the material. And take this jacket off. So, now we're feeling a little bit back to normal. So now I've got this one that I've coated with the brush-on microscale stuff, and the other thing that's got the demon spray on it. So we're going to see which one of those gives me a better result. I've got one more sheet of that decal film left. So if anything screws up, I've got one more shot at it. But while all that's drying, I can continue doing the rest of this. Okay, for today's episode of Victim on a Stick, we have the lovely and talented Julia Adams. Now, these are pretty much the final colors. I want to do something on those shorts to whiten them up a little bit more, although I kind of like the off-white. That's just the color of the dirty brush picking up some skin colors, but you know, they're supposed to be wet, so they wouldn't be completely bright white if they're wet. She's to a point now where her and the arm over there, see, I'll point to the one arm, I'll rip your arm off and beat you with it. Rip the one arm over there that's drying separately, that has to wait till it goes on to be glued on. But she's to a point now where I want to spray her with a satin coat to kind of lock everything in. Plus it's going to make that decal stick on her top better if it's on a glossy surface. So give this a few more minutes to dry. Ooh, look at that. Nice little water ballet. The disheartening part about all this is how much it's going to be covered up that you're never going to see. But the nice thing about that is you can practice. And I know that back is never going to be seen, but I can practice some colors and some shading on it to get it down before I move it to the front. But let her dry for a little bit and then hit it with a gloss or a semi-gloss coat, and then go get some lunch. So I looked up and saw the clock and realized it was still too early to go to lunch. So I dived back into painting, and I finally found the type of eyes I like to paint, and those are closed eyes. Don't have to worry about all those fancy pupils and irises and stuff when they're closed. Yes, she looks glossy, but she's supposed to. She's wet. She's just been pulled out of the water. I'm going to do a little highlighting on the hair just to break that up a little bit, and then we're going to see how well the grand experiment on the Paisleys, the Great Paisley Experiment as I am calling it, how well that's going to work out. Okay, one last look at it before I either improve it immensely or irrevocably screw it up. So when I get at least this much of it documented. Let's try this side first. Okay, I'm immensely happy with this. There's going to be some blending where the orange doesn't quite cover, but I might be able to cut a patch from one of the other ones and simply pop it over that. I knew it was designed to stop at this seam right here, so anything that wraps around the back I'm going to have to make out of a new piece. But that's following the contours pretty darn nicely, and I just need to put the other side on and then put some of the old microset on it so that it wraps around all the contours right. But man, that saves me a lot of time from painting Paisleys. I think I need to retire now. I think I have reached the pinnacle of my decaling ability. Look at how nice that went down. And I've got some microset on there to help it lay down, but I'll let this dry for a good long while. And now I think I'll go to lunch. But look at that. Sure beats painting Paisleys. Oh, and I've got 4 sets left over. So, and you are building this kit and are needing some decals for your lovely victim, slash maiden, slash, empowered female. Send me a self-addressed stamped envelope. PM me, whatever. And I will, the first 4 people that ask for them, get them. Because I don't need them anymore. Oh, she's coming together, kids. We're almost down to the finish line. I'm getting ready to hot glue mama. I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue in the creature's hands here. Even though it kind of works without it. I don't know, let me think. Maybe it's enough that I don't need to put any glue in there. I do need to glue her shoulder on. Now that we have the final position for everything, I can go ahead and glue that on. Okay, now this is where we start making rationalizations. I'm going to say I'm done with this for the purpose of this video. Creature and victim complete, but you'll notice there is a shoulder joint here that needs to be blended in, sanded a little bit, and painted. That's not going to happen today. It might happen this weekend, but this will be the last video for my Monster Madness month of fantasy figures, because once I show you what I've got in the other room, you will see why I have been so eager to close down. I was going to do maybe like 2 more figures this month. Finish out all of October with these figures. And then the mail came yesterday. And what I got in the mail yesterday is basically going to shape what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the fall. Maybe not all fall, the complete fall, the total fall, but at least for a while. But back to the creature. I have to say, never in my wildest dreams did I expect this to work first time out of the gate. And I noticed that, maybe the pattern isn't right. It's paisleys, it's got stripes. It certainly captures the theme of what the bathing suit looked like, or the sundress looked like, but it's not exact. And if I had knew it was going to come out this perfectly, I might have spent a little bit more time making the pattern exact. But by gum, I really like that. So good. I'm going to call this finished, and who knows? Maybe next week or at some future video, I will bring this back to light to show you how how it got finished off. It's like I've got a little bit of decal on her neck, and I don't want. There you go. Get rid of that. Outside of painting that joint on her shoulder, sanding it up and painting it, I am done. There you go. Let me go get Elvira and bring her back in, and we will have this week's completed work. Okay, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the finished achievements for the week, with the little asterisks next to the creature because I have not quite finished it. But finished they are, and ready to go on the shelf. What I've said about Elvira still stands. It was the flocking that made that kit. I don't think you saw the candelabra with the dripping wax and the brass fixture, but that's done. The creature is done. Victim is done. Man, look at that bathing suit. I mean, I've said that before, but never on a model. Well, I've said that before on a model, but never on a model that I've built. That decal just came out great. I'm sorry. I'm going to be a little proud of that for a while. I'm going to be insufferable for a week. That's the joint, obviously, that needs to be sanded and touched up. And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, I'm going to take the camera into the other room to show you some scenes from upcoming adventures. Okay, I'm going to hold off the suspense for just a minute more. It's rare when you can take a look at a tabletop and see your whole future in front of you. outside of the Katinga, which is due, you know, practically, you know, days from now, any day now, I could get word of a Katinga. This is what my, what's this? It's mid-October now. This is what November and December is going to be. And without further ado, let me show you what's doing. Okay, I have to stand back. That's get back because I can't zoom out far enough. The pod is nobody's secret. You've seen me dance around that subject for a while. Well, I've still not been given the official clearance to show it off, but I'm tired of waiting. I've had it for about a month. I want to talk about it. You'll notice how big it is. Firstly, there are the earmuffs for it, and this is the interior of it. Now, I'll get into this stuff next week when I start the new videos, but I wanted to show you. And this, my friends, there's my hand. My hand is not, you know, smaller than most people's hands. It's average hand size. But this is the 1000 scale Galaxy class USS Enterprise from Don Shoko, the same wonderful man who came up with that Reliant conversion kit that I had spent last month on. This is his newest effort. This is not a conversion kit, this is the entire kit. I mean, it's not a conversion for another model, it is an entire, it is cast completely in clear resins and beautifully cast, may I say. Nary a bubble, and I say nary a bubble, I mean you cannot find a bubble in this casting anywhere. There was one spot where I found one bubble, and it was nowhere near anything that was going to be clear in the final product, so no worries there. But look at it. That's the engine cap, the Bassard. Beautifully hollow, ready for lighting. Channels. There's a metal wire or a metal post or tube running through the arm. That's going to be kind of tough to get wiring through. Maybe 2 or 3 magnet wires at most. Again, once I get into it, I'll know whether I need to do anything additional to it. But the reason I've got this puppy in front of me is so that I can make Aztecs for it. The Enterprise D is practically the only ship I do not have a set of Aztecs for, and it's because of the compound curvedness of it. Now, the larger something is, the easier it is to make a mask for, because any one part doesn't have that much of a compound curve to it. Here's an example. Take a piece of paper, wrap it around a basketball, and then take that same piece of paper and wrap it around a golf ball. And you'll see which one you can do smoother, because you know, the smaller something is, the sharper the curves are, and the harder it is to get, you know, vinyl to stretch over it. But any one of these things is going to be easy to do because, like I said, the compound curve is not going to be as noticeable. So this is what I'm going to be working on for the foreseeable future. It's going to be multi-parts. It's going to be an interesting story to tell. And it may not all get done at one time. So between this, like I said, you throw the Katinga on this pile, and you got yourself the making of a full rest of 2018. And that's going to bring us to the end again, folks. Like I said, it was originally meant to be a full month long, all of October, all figures, all monsters, all month long. But once I got that Galaxy class kit in, I realized I needed to jump on that thing right away. So I cut the Monster Month short. Still got 3 good kits out of it. I got the Michael Myers, I got the Elvira, and I got the Creature. I got 3 good, fun, complicated builds out of it. I just didn't go as far with the rest of the month as I was going to. So until next week, when I start diving into that pile of plastic and resin in the other room, you all be good to each other, and we'll see you here next time.